You can also create a multi-sub-object material. So right now in 3ds Max it's very convenient because every single object here we're going to give a separate color to, separate material. What if, for example, you want to also have a mask for the inside of this object right here? Well, if you apply a material here, it's all going to be that one color. So we can actually use a multi-sub-object material right here. So let's say I will go in here, double click here. Here's our multi-sub-object material. You can double click on it. You can set how many numbers you want here, how many materials. Let's just say 2. And let's say the blue, I'll plug into 1. I'll just select this, hold shift to create a copy, and let's say I'll make this yellow. I'll plug this into 2. And I'm going to apply the multi-subject material. So remember, 1 is blue, 2 is yellow. So I'll loop this right here, grow, scroll down here, set ID to enter. Now it's yellow here. And what I would do here is just make this crease a little bit sharper here so we don't get as much bleeding right here. Alright, there we go. But instead of this being blue, I'll now change this to be green. So there's no mix-up right here. And I will re-export this as the high poly. And pretty much I rebaked it, and notice how the materials now look different because of the new color ID map. So let's fix that real quick. Let's just turn off uniform rubber. So here's the plastic base. So once again, I'll click on the actual mask here, color selection, pick color, and pick the green. So notice now we have both blue and green. So you can actually have multiple colors using this same material right here. But in this case, I only want the green, so I'll click this button to delete the blue. And notice how it's now gone from here. Let's activate the uniform rubber. Color selection, pick color, and we'll pick, let's say, just the blue right here. And we'll delete the green. There we go. Let's just double check. Plastic, rubber. And let's say for the center we want to have some other material right here. So let's see. Maybe a shinier plastic right here. So I'll drag this on top. Right click, add mask color selection, pick color, and I'll pick the yellow. Now I'll click on the left right here, base color, and I'll actually make this yellow as well. Alright, and there we go. We now have 4 different materials. Aluminum, plastic, rubber, and a glossy plastic right here. So with the key object, we have a situation with pretty much 1 high poly corresponding to 1 low poly, 1 to 1. However, sometimes you may have multiple high polys for 1 low poly. For example, with this locker terminal, I have this single low poly right here, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4 high poly objects. Well, we can just give all the high poly objects the same name. So for example, if I call this locker1 underscore low, and now I will paste that in here, switch this to high, and then copy this name and give it to the other ones as well. In 3ds Max, multiple objects have the exact same name right here. So now you notice that all these objects are called underscore high right here. And I will just set open subdiv to be, let's say, 3 iterations right here, or maybe 4. Alright, and now I will export this as a high poly, make sure this is the same space right here, export as low poly, and we'll test out the bake. We also want to make sure our proper smoothing groups right here. So you can see this area is unsmooth. So what we'll do is just, let's say, select these 4 polygons, grow, and give this the same smoothing group right here. There we go. So all 4 high polygon objects have successfully baked into the low poly. But in 3ds Max, I also have some various colors. They've been baked into the ID map right here. In order for us to see this, I'll just, let's say, drag in the uniform plastic right here. And for base color, if I click on this, we'll notice a lot of different colors here. But various textures here will correspond to the additional maps right here, and one of them is the ID map. So notice how this map right here corresponds to this right here. So if I click on it, here are our colors in the diffuse right here, just like they are here in 3ds Max. So in order to get you started, look in the description, you'll find a download link, a single OBJ file which has these 3 objects in it. So the knife is easy enough to separate. You can just select the low poly and just move this down. By default, when you import OBJ, all of the pivots will be in the center right here. So they will all be at 0. In order to separate the low poly locker, you can just press H and simply find locker 1 all the way through 6. That's the low poly. And for the keys, you can just select all the key low objects right here. Also, for the high poly knife, I have applied a crease set, but creases don't get exported with OBJ. So if I apply open subdiv here, you notice it does not have any kind of creases here. So what you may want to do is maybe apply a crease set real quick here. And make sure the appropriate edges are creased. And then crease set, maybe 0.15, and then open subdiv here. And maybe you want to export this as the high poly instead. But of course make sure that both the low poly and high poly are in the same location when you export them. So if you take a look at the OBJs, you may notice some kind of issues. For example, notice this strange issue right here. But you can easily fix this by selecting these 2 vertices and connecting right here. So before and after. And ideally what you want to do is set up better splitter groups than this as well. So when I unwrap this, I did a very quick basic unwrap. You can see we have lots of pieces everywhere. If you want to get a much better unwrap, and we pretty much want to do is unwrap it in a way that whenever there's a hard angle right here, I'll just switch from thick to thin right here. Whenever there's a hard angle right here, you want it to be a separate island. So for example, we can just scroll down here and use select by planar angle. I can select this right here and just use planar map right here. Just use best align right here. And that can be 1. And the other side, that is 2. Alright. For the inside here, let me just isolate this real quick here. What we get is this right here. But what I can do is deselect these vertices and then simply scale this like so. And deselect this one as well. And now I can simply scale inwards here, and we get this kind of result here. So this is a much better unwrap right here. Select the inside, and then we can grow this. All right, and now for the outside. You can just turn off ignore back facing. All right. And for this piece right here, that's the bottom. Actually, we can make it part of this as well. And so there we go. And same for the other side here. Alright, so this right here is a much better unwrap. So of course, right now this is all just a single object. It's better to do this when all of your objects are connected together. However, what you could also do is unwrap each object individually right here. So for example, let's say unwrap this right here, and then I can just collapse this. And let's say I go in here and unwrap this real quick. So unwrap UV. And this method is if you want to spend more time on your UVs and have them be more clean and accurate here. Alright, so let's say unwrap this right here. I'll then collapse this. So let's say you go and you give a professional unwrapping to all these objects. I've only got 2 right here though, so now you can attach them together. Unwrap UV. Alright, and now let me just delete this real quick. We'll actually use a free collection of tools here called text tools. And so you can do edit UVs. We've got things here like pack, and also normalize, which will make sure that all of your objects are the same proportion in relation to each other here. There we go. Pack. Just scale this down to here. So this is a much more professional looking UV unwrapping right here. This is probably what you want to aim for right here, but it's a little bit more time intensive. However, once you've got this good unwrap, you can simply make the smoothing groups follow this by going into Tools, Smoothing Groups from UV Shells, and pay attention to how the smoothing groups will change here. Alright, so this is pretty much a good unwrap and a good smoothing group setup right here. This is what you want to be aiming for. Everywhere there's a hard edge here, we got a separate UV shell and a separate smoothing group right here. Here, because it's smooth here, we can have this all be a single smoothing group right here and the single UV shell. So this right here is pretty much the perfect ideal for UV unwrapping and smoothing groups right here for your low poly. Once again, if you have these kind of issues, simply just select 2 vertices and connect, and the issue is solved here. So these 2 objects will give you a good chance to practice unwrapping, setting up your naming conventions, exporting, baking, and setting up some basic textures using the color ID mask and some texturing. Thank you for watching, and take care.